Hello and welcome to this tutorial on mutations. There are two key ideas that you need to know by the end of this video. The first is having the ability to describe mutations as changes in the DNA sequencing or changes to the chromosomes and outlining the factors that contribute to these mutations. The second key idea is that changes in the gene sequencing can have a huge impact on an amino acid and thus the protein made. Everybody say hello to Gary. Gary will be the subject that we will look at in this slide, and he is an albino faun. This means he was born without pigment. Pigment is what gives color to skin and to your eyes and to your hair and so on. Now, there has been an alteration to his DNA sequence, which means that there has been a change in his nitrogenous bases, which are your A, T, C's, and G's. There has been a change, which means there is a change in the amino acids and thus the gene that it produces. This is why he is albino. And in end, any alteration to the gene which stems back to your DNA sequencing is known as a mutation. So how do mutations change characteristics? So as mentioned before, if there is a change in the gene, then your physical attributes, your functional or your genetic instruction in end changes. This gene has been made from proteins. Proteins are made from amino acids, and amino acids come all the way back to your nitrogenous bases. We have our nitrogenous base sequencing. So we have CAA, CGT, and so on. These three right here. They code for an amino acid, which is glutamine. These three that I'm circling right now are coding for arginine. Now, for whatever reason, there has been a mutation, which means there has been a change in the DNA sequencing. Now, let's look at the one below. We had CAA, which is glutamine, but now there has been a swap over right here. There has been a change in the DNA sequencing, which means it no longer codes for arginine, but it's now coding for leucine. Now, this DNA sequencing has changed the amino acid. Now, these amino acids combine to form proteins, and proteins combine to form genes. Now, because we've changed the amino acids, we change the protein that it makes, then we change the gene. Notice with your sequencing of your DNA, 2 amino acids, 2 proteins, and then genes. So this is Gary's DNA sequence right here. For whatever reason, a mutation has occurred and the DNA sequencing has changed. Because it is changed, it has made a different amino acid, which makes different proteins, makes a different gene. Or these genes result in functions, characteristics, and new genetic instruction. This was the original genetic instruction, whereas now Gary has this genetic instruction, which means he has different protein, different genes, and he can not produce pigment. You may ask how mutations occur. Well, to be honest, they commonly occur naturally. Now, this means because they occur naturally, about 1 cell in every million contains a mutation. Your body is so amazing that when it does realize that there is a cell that has become mutated and is not doing what it's supposed to be doing because it's coding for different genes and all that stuff, your body can attack it and get rid of it. Now, what if, rather than it's 1 cell in a million, what if you had, say, 100 cells in a million? Now, your body will have to be working overtime to get rid of those. Now, this does occur unnaturally, which means environmental factors can contribute to the increase of mutations. Now, can you think of any environmental factors that you should stay away from because they cause, for instance, cancers and stuff? There are these 3. So X-rays and nuclear radiation, exposures to chemicals, for example, you have pesticides and UV exposure. These all contribute to an increase of mutations. Some mutations are actually beneficial. Now, this is very brief that you just have to know that there are, for example, a good example that you will need to know is that a mutation has helped in causing high-yielding wheat. Now, they changed the DNA sequencing and they found that rather than wheat producing X amount, they've made it so it produces more and more. And yes, that is very beneficial in the farming industry. Now, there are some mutations that assist in higher chance of survival for organisms. We will look at this in natural selection. Now, some mutations have zero impact on the organism. Why do you think that there are multiple triplets that code for the same amino acid? Please refer to page 67 of your textbook, and I'd like to have this as the first point of discussion in the next lesson. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you in class. Thank you.